unusually for sequel films, I found that the Honey films just keep getting better and better. As I've mentioned previously, I watched Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and Honey, I Blew Up the Kid when I was younger. I couldn't remember them, but I remember watching them, and I rewatched them and loved them. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids was good. Honey, I Blew Up the Kid was even better. And then I thought, well, I'll watch Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves. I have no recollection of having ever seen this one before, so I'm considering this the first time I've seen it, and honestly, I think it's the best of the three. They just got better. This was released in 1997. It is, of course, a Disney film starring Rick Moranis, and we have Dean Cundey as the director, and the characters are kind of the same, but kind of different. Rick Moranis obviously plays Wayne. We have Eve Gordon as Diane. Adam is played by Bug Hall, and Nick and Amy are not in this, presumably because this is about 10 years after the previous film, so they've moved out at this point. There's no mention of them, but that makes sense because they'd be in their 20s. But we do have two other children, and we actually have Jenny and Mitch, played by Allison, Mack, and Jake Richardson, who are the cousins. And the ourselves in the title refers to Wayne and Diane, and also Gordon and Patti Szalinski, played by Stuart Pankin and Robin Bartlett. And I have to say, Stuart Pankin in particular gave a really fabulous performance. I thought he was brilliant as Gordon, who is Wayne's brother. And the four parents have shrunk themselves in the house, and the children, I point out they did it accidentally, none of them planned for it to happen, and the children think their parents have gone away, so they have a free house. And what do children do when the parents are gone? Well, I won't say exactly, but things get a little bit out of hand. But the parents are obviously there, and the parents are doing everything they can to try and get the children's attention. Meanwhile, they're also seeing their children doing things and saying things that they wouldn't normally do or say when their parents aren't around, which I think is really interesting, but also a child's worst nightmare, let's be honest. And honestly, I absolutely loved it. There are some important messages in here, more so than any of the other two. I feel like this one actually has some really good lessons in it, life lessons, and that's a lesson for children, is that actually you need your parents. You may think sending your parents away forever would be a great idea, but actually there are times in your life when you wish they were around. And for parents, it's all about trusting your children, because especially at the very beginning of this film, because initially Diane and Patti are meant to be going away on a short vacation. Needless to say, it doesn't go to plan. But at the beginning, they're giving out a lot of instructions for the kids on things they need to do, but also things they definitely shouldn't be doing. And there's not really any sense that they trust that the children will be fine or that they'll do the right things. But as they observe them, there is an element of learning that actually you don't give your children enough credit. And I feel like a lot of children could benefit from feeling like their parents actually trust them. And there are messages for both sides of the coin here. In terms of the filming, it is brilliant. I feel like they interact with slightly fewer props than they did in the previous films. I'm not sure if that's, accurate or if it's just how I felt. But there weren't many or as many, oversized props for them to engage with. Although two of the bits I loved. One involves a toy car. I won't say any more than that. And the other is when Wayne stumbles over some wires. And there are a whole bunch of wires, and he kind of falls into them. And it just looked wonderful. So what we did have was actually really effective, and I really liked it. I thought the progression of the narrative was brilliant. We didn't have too much time setting up, but enough to kind of set the scene without it feeling too slow. And I think the perspective from the children was portrayed very well. The children all have kind of different personalities as well, and we have kind of the different thoughts that they can have at various points. And then the parents were well, it was unclear how they were going to be able to resolve this problem, and I think it developed very well. Really, I just thoroughly enjoyed it. As I said, I feel like it's the best of the three, and that is so unusual. Sometimes a sequel, the second film, can be better, but it's so rare that the third film in a trilogy or even more is very good at all, never mind the best of the three. So I'm really over the moon with that. I'd love to know what you think of it. It is, of course, on Disney+. There is a TV series, and I think they're doing a 4th film, if I read correctly, but it's not out yet. I've not looked too much into that. I'm not sure what it would be like having somebody else playing Wayne other than Rick Moranis, but I might check it out. But for now, really happy with the films. I can see why I loved them as a child, and this third one, watching it for the first time as an adult, was just a real treat, and I would be more than happy to watch them again.